morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at Tentacool. You see, every so often, it comes to my attention that there's a Pokemon in the format that we've not really had a chat about, and I like to think I'm pretty comprehensive. I like to think that when it comes to Pokemon, we talk about all of the new cards, and we do, all of the new decks, etc, 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 and generally speaking, we're pretty gosh darn good. We don't miss a lot over here, ladies and gentlemen. PTCGRadio Towers is a safe place where we talk about everything, but we didn't talk about Tentacool. So now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about Tentacool. And there was a lovely person who hit me up on Twitter to remind me about this, and I cannot remember who they are. I will try and find them and put their name on the screen right now, but even if I don't, they know who they are and they're awesome. So Tentacool then, that's right, not Tentacruel, Tentacool. It came out in Unbroken Bonds, and it's got 60 HP, so something like Professor Owl's Lecture can be used very nicely to grab it, and it uses one colourless energy. So the fact of the matter here is that you've got a basic Pokemon for one colourless energy. In terms of teching Pokemon in, it doesn't really get much easier or much better than single colourless energy basic Pokemon. You can put this in any deck whatsoever, and that's wonderful, and it does 60 damage if you've played Janine this turn. And that's the real downside here. That's the problem. The problem is you have to have played Janine. So when I say this is the easiest teching in card we've ever seen, because basic Pokemon colourless energy, and yes, I know technically you could do zero energy, but come on, ladies and gentlemen, let's not be unrealistic. But you got to play Janine, and that's the downside here. 60 damage is great. We'll get to the damage in a minute. The biggest issue we've got here is that you have to play Janine. Simple as that. Now, Janine's not a bad card. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. Put 2 of them in your hand and shuffle the other back into your deck. So it's kind of cool. You can get Pokemon, you can get energy, you can get trainer cards. There's a lot you can do with Janine, but, and this does need to be pointed out, you can't play other stuff. So if you play Janine, brilliant, but you're not playing Cynthia. You're not playing Lily. Those other cards that we use to draw, you're not playing them. But it's more than that. It means you're not playing Ace Roller to heal your Pokemon. It means you're not playing Guzma to drag your opponent's Pokemon off the bench to try and KO them. It means you're not playing Professor Owl's Lecture to get your basics out. You are giving up any other supporter. And not only that, but you've got to find Janine. So it's all very well and good saying, look, I'm cool with this. Janine's a pretty good card, and I only want a basic Pokemon and a single colourless energy, so I'm okay with this. So what I'm going to do, right, I'll play my Janine, and I'll put 4 in my deck, and I'll just be happy to play Janine every turn, and in theory, that's great. But what if you can't find Janine? What if you can't draw into it? Now, sure, we got stuff like Macargo that can put it on top of your deck and then you can draw it. And sure, we got stuff like Tapu Lele, but do you really want to be benching a bunch of Tapu Lele every turn? I would argue possibly not. So look, I love Janine, but I don't know if it's as good as the other draw cards. And even if you're willing to play Janine, you do run the risk of just not drawing it. Even if you're happy to play it, you still might not get it. And that's a problem. Okay, more on that in a minute. For the time being, we can have a little bit of a look at what it actually does. And 60 damage is great. 60 damage means evolving Pokemon like Poipole are going to go down. Things like Ditto Prism Star are going to go down. And remember, you're talking basic Pokemon, single colourless energy. So you can just go second and use this to be taking KOs, taking prizes immediately. As soon as the game starts, you're taking prizes. Your opponent passes over, you take out a Poipole, or you take out a Ditto Prism Star, or even maybe you take out an opposing Tentacool, if that's what you're into. But it's more than that, ladies and gentlemen, because you're a water Pokemon. And you see, at the moment, because of all these cards like Welder, being a fire Pokemon is great. So whenever you've got a fire Pokemon, we're going to want a water Pokemon to try and take it out. So can this take down those fire Pokemon? Well, the answer is some of them. Not all of them. Arguably not enough of them. So, the big one here, and this is a phenomenal use, we got Blacephalon. Baby Blacephalon. Hey, Nick! When you're up against Baby Blacephalon here, you're good. Because it's got 120 HP. So you do 60, double with weakness, 120, Blacephalon goes down. Now, you've got to play Janine every turn. You only get a KO after playing Janine. But if you're willing to play Janine in your deck, this is the best tech we've got against something like Blacephalon. It's phenomenal. Now, I showed you Taboo Finny recently. And Taboo Finny, for a single colourless energy, does 100 damage if there's an Ultra Beast on your opponent's side of the field. If your opponent doesn't have an Ultra Beast out, then it takes free energy and it's not good. But with an Ultra Beast out, takes single energy. And the cool thing here is it is actually coming as a pre-release promo, as I showed you the other day. So that's kind of cool. But we don't have that right now. We've got this. And this will work beautifully against Blacephalon, because the other thing we need to remind ourselves here is that until the rotation hits, and this came out in Unbroken Bond, so it's legal now, we've still got Choice Band. So Choice Band puts this from 60 up to 90, which with weakness puts it up to 180, and now GX, or as I like to refer to it, Big Daddy Blacephalon, going down as well. So now we've got a basic Pokemon for a single energy that's taken out either of the Blacephalon, and now it's really going in your favour. Now against Blacephalon GX, you're winning the prize trade, but they also need to have 2 energy attached to Blacephalon GX, and Lost Zone 2 energy from somewhere on their field in order to get a KO. Now, sure, they can use Naganadel to go after you, and they almost certainly will, but bearing in mind, by the time Naganadel hits the field, if you've played it properly, you should already have taken out a Blacephalon. Naganadel hits 80 for free energy, they will KO you. But you shouldn't just be leaving Tentacool down and waiting. You should be, oh, they've put a Blacephalon down, now I bench my Tentacool and take a KO. That's what you should be doing here. That's how this should be going. So it doesn't really matter if Naganadel then goes and takes you down. And look, you're not going to be playing a Tentacool deck. So you're going to have something else that can take down Naganadel here. So you'll probably be okay. Against Blacephalon, this is awesome. And again, if we go and have a look at little baby Blacephalon, bearing in mind this is sometimes played as a quad deck, just using stuff like Welder and in the early game Kiawe. And for them to get a KO, they've got to have free energy attached to Blacephalon and then discard 2 fire energy from their hand. How often do you think they're going to be able to do that? The answer is really not that often. Not that often at all. And there are other Pokemon you're getting here. Volcanion is seeing an awful lot of play. That's going down here. That's probably the most played fire Pokemon other than Reshiram and Charizard. And look, while we're here, we might as well look at Reshiram and Charizard. You're not getting that close. I'll be honest with you. Reshiram and Charizard, even with a Choice Band, you're up to 180. Now you can 2-hit KO, and you're 2-hit KOing as a little diddy Pokemon. That's awesome. But you're not getting that close, unfortunately. And remember that they also have an outrage attack, so hitting them for a big amount of damage and not getting a KO means they can then gust a GX off of your bench and take 2 prizes. So you've got to be really careful about Reshiram and Charizard. But the other one that makes me really sad here is we're not getting Arcanine. Arcanine's got 140. Arcanine is quietly positioning itself as one of the best non-GXs in the format, certainly in terms of attacking. 120 for free energy while accelerating 2 to your bench from your discard. And 190 for 4 energy plus 140 HP, that's good. Now, if they've used Heat Tag, want to take 50 HP off themselves, wonderful. If they haven't, you're 20 damage short. And that's a bit of a problem. We don't like this. And you can't play Professor Kukui because remember you have to have played a Janine in order to get the extra damage. And Water doesn't have something like Diancie Prism Star or Electro Power. If Water gets something like Diancie Prism Star or Electro Power, then Tentacool, I believe, becomes a huge amount better. Until then, I think it's a great tech against Blacephalon. And it's a great tech against Volcanion, and I think playing it in decks will get you some cheeky KOs here and there, but you do need to be aware of the fact that you need to play Janine, and that's a huge downside here. If you're willing to play Janine, given that Fire decks are literally ruling the format right now, I think you should play one of these. If you're playing Janine anyway, I think this becomes a no-brainer. If you're not playing Janine anyway, then I think the decision becomes a lot more awkward. Now, in terms of Tentacruel, we do have a couple of options. The one in Guardians Rising, which is about to rotate out 3 energy, 40 damage, flip a coin if heads 80, if tails 40 and paralysis. That could be kind of fun. 80 with a choice band, incidentally, will KO basically everything but Reshiram and Charizard, which is quite nice. And remember that until the rotation hits, we do have triple acceleration energy. When the rotation hits, we'll still have the one from Team Up, which can be immune to Ultra Beast, which is pretty gosh darn cool. And it's a psychic type, so maybe you play this in a Malamar deck, and while you're playing it anyway, you play the other Tentacool and just 1 or 2 Janine. And then we've got the one that just came out in Unbroken Bonds, which moves energy around, places damage counters, 60 and paralysis on a coin flip. Don't forget triple acceleration energy. They're all fine. They're all useful. I think Tentacool is potentially one of the best hidden techs in the format. But you've got to play Janine. If you're playing Janine, oh my goodness, you can really do some good here. If you're not playing Janine, you need to be a little bit more careful. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Now we have covered Tentacool. My apologies, we didn't do it earlier. At this stage, I'd like to know what you think about it. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about games that don't even have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.